What's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 202. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Spider-Man, he's the man with the plan.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, what up?
Brian Manjoma.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Brett Murdoch. Hey, party people. And Adam Vale.
Hey, everybody. I was on mute.
Adam Vale.
It's a free Sunday, people. Let's rest.
Yeah, man. We all tired today? Shit, man. The low energy podcast, man.
Oh, man, mowing the lawns. Mowing my lawn, my in-laws' lawn, raking, doing all this shit, cleaning the house, bathrooms, and just a lot of work.
Yeah. By the way, Adam, can we make that public, what we talked about with that regard, or no?
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, it's
yeah. Tell them what's going on with WrestleCast, man.
It's tough. It's tough with WrestleCast. Not sure of my status, just because I got a lot of family stuff going on. We had a death in the family, so I'm doing a lot of double duty. You know, just things they've got to do, just to pick up where the other person left off, and it's just a lot of work. And it just there's only so much time in the day to do certain things like this. We get to do this late night, and there's a bunch of us, but WrestleCast, not so many people, so you gotta get your undivided attention, and it's kind of hard because it requires watching a lot of content. Sort of like how we're spitting out news and stuff, but with that stuff, it's like you have to actually watch it, and there's a lot of product, and I haven't been able to have a chance to watch anything, and just constantly been busy with all the family stuff. So not sure of my status right now. Maybe when things lighten up, and I hope it keeps going on. It shouldn't all be about that, but just right now I'm in limbo just with all the shit I'm dealing with.
Yeah, that sucks, but I know people are fans of that show, so and you're here, so like, what the fuck? He's here, but he's not there. What's happening?
Well, I mean, it's the thing. It's like about life. Sometimes life happens.
Yeah, man.
And it's just you got to deal with those sorts of things. And and if it allows you to come back, then sure. But if it doesn't, it's just one of those things that kind of happens.
Yeah, like Throwdown. The way I see it, it's easier for Adam. It's like if he needs to dip for any reason, all right. There's 6 other motherfuckers here. WrestleCast is like 3 heads. At most.
That's the issue. So if there's something going on and my wife needs help, it's like if it's just me and Dana talking, I can't really step away. But then it's like I sort of need to, and then I hear it later. It's like, oh, well, I needed this and that. So
yeah, you got to live with your wife, son. So
it's just family stuff, and then it's like kids have all their activities, and that was another thing. My daughter, her gymnastic class moved from Thursday to Friday, and so that means she doesn't get home till 7:30, which means I'm watching my son until then. And then once we get home, then it's like, oh, we gotta get dinner ready, and it's gonna be a late dinner, and that's guaranteed every Friday now until she's done with this gymnastics class. So that really changes everything for Friday. And then, of course, Saturday and Sunday now it's, doing housework on my house and my in-laws' house.
Crazy. All right, man. So now you guys know. And also, as far as heads up goes, I was going to do a video on this with Manny and Riku, but I'm going to keep it real. I was playing too much. I was playing too much Fist of the North Star. Lost track of time. But we'll do it now. Maybe we'll do a video. We'll see. But yeah. The straw that broke the camel's back has happened when it comes to game streaming on YouTube. We will never do that again. No more game streams on YouTube. Fucking bullshit. We got hit with a copyright strike for the last fucking time. So Riku was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 for all of you last night, right? The fucking video gets pulled by Universal Music for the intro music.
Yeah,
like you can't even fucking stream like game music anymore. Like, and this is not the first time. This has happened many times. Or like we're playing in-game music, not even like licensed shit. In-game music canceled. It gets blocked.
The worst, the problem with a lot of those when it comes to music rights is the fact that they're directed at specific artists, and those artists have to be specifically paid separately from the revenue of the game. So that's why they're all crazy sensitive about this sort of stuff, because the artists have to make the money off of this thing, unless there's some sort of licensing deal, that they have with the company that they don't do that stuff. But under normal circumstances, yeah. So it's always going to happen. It happened to me a bunch of times on my little art streams that I do. I was just playing some video game music, and then the Kingdom Hearts one got called, the God of War one got called, a bunch of other ones got called. just because of because they're using external entities as opposed to local their internal studio stuff. But yeah, it sucks.
But even our Monster Hunter streams, like, they've gotten flagged by Capcom because we're playing the cat animation cinema. Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck? Like, here's the thing. If YouTube wants to have a proper gaming thing, you figure they would protect game streams from that sort of nonsense, but they don't,
YouTube doesn't give a shit about that stuff.
Like I was telling Manny before, what happened to the U in YouTube? That shit is gone.
No, they're just they're the biggest commercial company out there. They make all their money off of the revenue, off of the companies that put their ads on their thing. They don't make any money off of us. If we were paying for YouTube, yeah, maybe. But even that shit has kind of gone to the wayside. Nobody uses YouTube Red.
I do.
Like 1 out of like 1 million people.
Yeah.
And this is why YouTube gaming is already being folded away. No one uses that shit.
And then with stuff like that, it's like, okay, so you just playing a game automatically gets flagged.
Yeah. So fuck it. So from now on, we're just gonna do this shit on Twitch. What we're gonna do is like, okay, there's two things. One, we may get it. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, basically, what some YouTubers have done is when they're going to stream on Twitch, they'll have a quick 30-second video going, hey guys, I'm streaming on Twitch right now, and I'll keep the video up as long as their stream is up. Then they'll pull the video, right? Apparently YouTube is cracking down on that now. So see, I want to say we're gonna do that for you guys, but yeah, they're cracking down on that too.
Holy
shit. Because they don't want you to pull their viewership away by sending them to some other thing. So then why don't you make this a space where people can do these sorts of things?
Yeah.
Why do you have to give everybody a copyright strike for just doing things? Hey, you know what, motherfuckers? We're literally doing free advertising for your asses.
Well, it's because it's just poorly automated.
Yeah, because it catches it every single thing. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Whatever.
Yeah, so yeah, we're done with that.
But that's still their fault because they're watching their bottom line more than caring about their viewers and the actual content they're putting out. They don't want to pay somebody to check these things. Here's the thing: you could have an algorithm that flags these things, and then people actually check them to see if they're an issue. But it just decides it's easier not to pay anybody and automate a machine with the IQ of a watermelon.
And then they have one person there or a couple people there where you send an email to like, yo, this is not right. Why did this get called?
Yeah, and then when they do respond, it's some like automated bullshit that they give to everybody.
Hey, please read our terms of use.
Fuck out of here, man. So basically, no Throwdown's not going to be affected for now. That's fine. Those don't get flagged for copyright strikes. Although, to be honest, how we did those things during E3 and stuff. We probably won't be doing that again because although every one of those got fucking hit. Every last one of them.
Here's a funny one. Didn't one of our ones that we didn't have any real footage from got flagged too?
The only I don't know.
One of the ones that we did on the
no. The ones we uploaded were fine. It was the stream ones. I'm like, again, it was like, why does YouTube encourage people to stream on their platform when people get fucking flagged for the dumbest things? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna invite you to our house. It's just a bunch of fucking traps and shit inside. It's like, come on,
a bunch of hidden traps on the ground.
It's Home Alone.
Yeah, it's ridiculous without the fun.
Now I wonder if, let's say you were paying. Let's say if you were paying as a content, do you still have the same issues?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or are they only going after people that are not members and they notice it? And it's like a behind the scenes. Well, these people don't pay us, so let's put them on that other list that gets hit.
I think if you're like,
and the people that do get paid, like, yo, I don't get hit.
Yeah, I think if you're like a big YouTuber and you have your YouTube team, because the big guys have a team behind them, they're probably fine,
Because that's what I don't understand. I mean, we've all seen it. We see people doing Let's Plays and all stuff. How the hell do they get away with it?
Yeah.
You hear everything.
It's crazy, man. So, yeah, we're going to just do our shit on Twitch from now on, our game stream. So, if you're not already, just subscribe to us on Twitch and you'll be turn on notifications. And, again, I'll the first time we do it, because we don't really stream too often anyway, I'll make a quick video and we'll see what happens. Like, hey, we're streaming right now, because they may pull that too. Yeah,
they'll be like, hey, you can't send somebody to another station.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We wouldn't be sending people to another fucking station if you guys didn't fix your shit in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
They also YouTube is also kind of iffy on the Patreon things too. When people would talk about Patreon and all that shit too.
My thing is like, listen, if people can't make money off your platform, they have no choice but to go to Patreon. They were making money off this shit before,
and that's a donation site. So I don't know why they're pissy about it.
Because they don't want you going off of their. The main thing is they don't want you leaving YouTube. They want you to stay here watching and watching and watching. So they the minute that you click off, then they're like, no, we don't want that.
Then they have to be more creator friendly. They can't get. They have to come up with a middle ground. That's it. This is bottom line.
Like I said, it's no longer the you in YouTube. That shit don't exist no more, man.
It's gone ever since. To be honest, it was gone as soon as Google bought them, when they became part of the machine.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway. they had to sell it. They got it cheap too. Remember, because it was very expensive to host all this. It requires a lot of space, a lot of servers. So they got it at a deal at the time. No one knew that YouTube was going to still last the way it did. Think about it. There's really no competitor to YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, there's others out there, but no one cares about them. No one goes to Vimeo. No one goes to Daily Motion. No one goes to these places.
Yeah, Daily Motion, yeah.
All right, man. Anyway, let's get into these questions, man. So first up is Mr. Him Deal. He goes, yo, Throwdown crew. What's going on, man? So he goes, I just read that Telltale Games is shutting down. Is anyone surprised? I enjoyed the story and their gameplay for what they were, but the way they did games was just lame. Episodes delayed, janky ass engine, and bugs for days. Were they lazy or stretched too thin? What are your thoughts? I never want to say a game developer is lazy. It takes a lot of work to make games. So yeah, it's not lazy, but there's
especially hearing the stories from a lot of the employees that used to formerly work there.
Yeah, and from what we're hearing, the studio's not shutting down. It's just being extremely downsized from...
No, it shut down.
Really? They shut down?
Co-creator, yeah.
Okay, it's over then. Party's over.
It's done. He said it. He said he confirmed that it shut down.
All right, so that's it. My thing is, I don't think we talked about this on the air before. Manny and I have discussed this many times. They had too much going, man. They had too many things going on. The focus was gone.
They definitely stretched themselves way too thin and reached way too far. When they were just dealing with one game at a time, like a Walking Dead game or a Wolf Among Us, that was fine. But they kind of doubled down and started getting more properties like Batman and Guardians of the Galaxy and Minecraft.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, everything.
And Game of Thrones and Borderlands. What was that?
Wolf Among Us.
And, Wolf Among Us was the one after Walking Dead, and that did good, but it didn't do great. But I mean, that's almost the downslide of the games. In fact, there's a chart that's floating around there just showing you how much they've fallen.
Man, Tales of the Borderlands was awesome. That's the thing. It reminded me of these old TV shows where you're like, oh, it gets rave reviews, but no one watches. Yeah. And that was the same thing. He's got rave reviews, these series, and just no one bought them.
Well, yeah. I think at the same time, it's like the novelty sort of wore thin. As soon as the series has gone on, they took more and more control away from you, where you're just kind of just standing, obviously it was like kind of an evolution of a point and click adventure, but then it even became even more automatic, where you didn't even need to you just needed to stand in the right location and the game would just continue to play forward.
Yeah, play Back to the Future from them, for example. That's a traditional one. You have to actually solve puzzles and do all this other shit. And then by the end, it was just like nothing but dialogue choices, which, it's like, yeah, dialogue choices are fine, but you also have to have hey, adventure game shit, like, let's look at this, let's examine that, let's combine these things and see what happens. They got rid of all of that,
They needed to go in the direction of Life is Strange. They needed to go in that direction, and it felt very stale. And that was the fear that a lot of people had with Spider-Man. Remember when we saw that first trailer?
They thought it was going to be QTE? That, yeah.
I'm like, here we go. This is their version. It's going to be a Telltale save. And that sucks when your game is linked, your franchise is linked to something that no one really is hyped about, with just QTEs and stuff. I think that's the reason why the new God of War also stepped away from that. Because remember, that's all it was. It was just QTs. Press this, press that, press this, press. Okay, you're done. You made it. You killed the monster.
I don't know. I mean, the way they usually use QTEs in those games was just that they were kind of punctuating an action.
Yeah, they were highlighting the action.
Yeah, punctuating an action. It's like after you beat, done your final moves on it, then you got a little QTE to kind of, so you're not just watching a cinematic of you doing something awesome.
Yeah, you still got to fuck it up, Yeah, like yeah, it's just too many things going on. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise. Like, you know, it was funny because I was on the bus right on the way back from the city, and like in the 10-minute time span it took to get from the train station to my crib, the whole thing just like the whole story kept changing. It was like they shut down. No, they didn't shut down. They did shut. No, they didn't shut down. It was just insane, you know. And like I said, and I think it's because I found a lot of industry people, like most of those people that I know, they all play these games. They all love these games. But it's a good question, like how many people are actually buying these games? Because when you saw that chart, man, like there was a steep drop off after
Like,
the first Walking Dead.
Like it goes from like Back to the Future, which was a pretty decent success for them, and then it goes to like Walking Dead, which is like the highest high point, like crazy, insanely high. But then you look at the final game, that the most recent final game that they did, it's lower than Back to the Future.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
There's a point that I don't think anybody here has brought up, in that they kind of oversaturated their own market with their own game.
Didn't we just say that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about all the different shit. Okay, yeah, like, well, yeah. So no, I agree that they made too many goddamn games too fast and all the same formula.
Yeah, like
And I'll be honest, like, and I think the games were easy to produce and cheap to produce, and that's the main reason everybody is so shocked. They're like, how the hell did they go under? Like,
well, also not to mention that yes, they're easy to produce and probably cheap to produce, but at the same time, they're also, you know, when you have a license, you actually have to pay the licensee. And you get shit like Batman or Walking Dead or any of those other things, you as the company have to pay, you know, Marvel or DC for the licensing. So obviously having all these big franchises, they're paying out to those guys money.
Yeah, but you see a lack of, because as we were talking about this a little bit before the show, like, they don't really have that many developers. They're staffed mainly by writers and support staff, and I think that kind of shows, because, like, I mean, yeah, granted they were working on, you know, the new engine and everything like that, but that should have been done a while ago. Like, when they really wanted to branch into, you know, what wanted to be seen as like a very big AA studio or a small AAA studio and wanted to be legitimized, they really should have worked out the jinx in their game.
Well, they were working on a new engine. That's one of the things that some of the devs that were like, "Go set it."
They were working on, but it should have been here 3 games ago.
Well, they were the Batman game actually did have a new engine. Believe it or not.
Well, it's the issue is, like, engine or not, they just had the same formula in general for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the next Telltale game, but like no one's really excited about the next Telltale game. They're more sort of enticed by the IP that they're doing, but the actual game, no one is really excited about, like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do with this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do the same thing they did for the other 10 games.
Yeah, like how do you make a Batman game and it just doesn't do well?
Right. Well, there are other games that did this. You know, Assassin's Creed does this, but at least it spaces itself out.
Well, they had to stop. The shit hit the fan for them too. Remember?
No,
so they stopped.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm saying take a note from Assassin's Creed and space your games out more, that ought to fucking say something.
Yeah, think about that. Like, Assassin's Creed games at least come out once a year. How many Telltale games you get a year? Like 3.
And
you know,
and the Telltale process is they don't release a full game. They're only releasing portions of games.
Yeah.
So they say episode 1 or 2, because the way their structure works is episode 1, 2, and 3 pays for the next episode.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah, that works in TV all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
And then the voice actor Clementine, she came out and even said that she hasn't done any work for episode 3 or 4. And other ones have come out and said the same thing. He was like, yeah, we were told the same thing. Goodbye. Thanks for, you know, all the years of service. So if you're telling the main voice actor for that series goodbye, then yeah, that's just not coming back. So the devs, and that's the other thing, Netflix came out and said that they were working, that the devs that are still there, is like 23, 24 people still there, but they're finishing up something for Netflix regarding Minecraft.
They're converting Minecraft Adventures into a cartoon.
Yeah,
well,
so
you know what? Like, Netflix has a freaking devastating legal team. That's why they're finishing that shit. Because they don't want to get sued. This is the same reason that Star Trek Discovery got finished the way it did, because Netflix put CBS under the gun. They don't mess around with that stuff. Everything else, like, think about all the season passes that probably got bought for Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You're not getting episode 3 and 4. That's it.
Yeah, there's also that where it's like, you know, they essentially sold people on a song that they were never actually going to finish.
No, I think they knew, but I brought it up before the show because remember that big pre-order was you get all the other games, the previous Walking Dead, plus the side pieces that they did, and you get that all free. That's huge. That's a huge library of games, and I think they were really hoping that would boost pre-orders, and it did nothing.
But it was marketed to all the people who didn't care to buy their games. It was, I don't know why they thought they were going to get a huge boost from this. It's like, hey, everybody,
it's the last one, you know? People like to hear when they're like, oh, this is the last of the franchise. It works for movies. It works for fights. It works for everything. The last one. Oh, shit. Well, you know what? I didn't see the other ones, but I'll watch this. It's the last one. Oh, the season's ending of a TV show. This is the final season. I used to watch it. Why not? This is the part I'll jump in.
Yeah,
see
but
who's
Walking
alive.
Dead was already, the show itself is already played out. People
Yeah,
I think people are tired of Walking Dead in general.
They're talking about another 10 years. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw
no,
that
they're bugging.
article.
They're bugging. I saw that. They're bugging. They're bugging. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. But I do want to quickly bring this up before we wrap it, because what I find most fucked up about this is the people that were literally hired at Telltale a week beforehand.
Right? Yeah.
You know?
They got Stranger Things and Wolf Among Us too. They staffed up only to fire everyone.
Yeah,
and it's like, yo, upper management had to know about this shit, and they were still hiring people.
Yeah, they should.
Bad investments.
They already should have started. You know, like that. What was it? How many people were at this place?
It was like 250.
250 people or so. Thing is, it's like, you know, they really should have been starting to cut down their workforce. You know, especially, you know, instead of
300 apparently. Damn,
300 people. So it's like at this point in time, when they started seeing that the returns on their games were kind of falling apart, they really should have started to convert back to essentially indie form, where you had maybe a good 50 or 100 people, and that's it.
Gotta wait for the book, man. We gotta wait for the book.
I got a question. You would think that upper management would know about this, but I mean, this is almost an unprecedented bomb drop in the way that assets were mismanaged. Like there's way more efficient ways to close down a company and salvage some assets instead of just lighting the whole thing on fire and letting it careen over a cliff. Yeah, does anybody else think that maybe and here's my other question, like, how does an investment go so bad so fast? And I know the market can be treacherous and whatnot, but like, you have to generally have some idea that the iceberg is headed your way, right? Or at least just have a backup plan, like, oh shit, there might be trouble on the horizon. How did they mismanage it? How did they mismanage it this badly?
Lies. Enron type lies. They were telling people, blowing smoke up at people's asses, thinking that they were going to have money to show for it at the end of the day. And when they didn't, and they were like, you know what, shit's going to hit the fan. The fact that they called everybody in and said, hey, that's it. You're done. You can leave now. It's like, what do you mean? Leave? Yeah, leave right now. It's over. That's crazy talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like something horrible happened. And we're going to hear about it as the days go on, as investigations go into place. You know, the mass media, mainstream media has jumped in on this because of the mass layoff. So I'm telling you, we're going to see some crazy specials soon about all this.
They're already there. I mean, a lot of the devs are already talking about all of this.
Yeah. They're talking about it.
And a lot of them, we kind of touched on this earlier. It's like, this, you were thinking that this is something that is not a common thing, but actually it is a common thing where, we look at a company like the guys who made LA Noire. Those guys were let go without any sort of severance.
Happens a lot, actually.
It actually happens quite a bit.
Yeah,
but that was after the game was
there
released.
Is nothing and that's what's gotten a lot of people talking about stuff like unions. Roles like working, game developers, illustrators, people who work in CGI. There is nothing that can, no net for these people when shit hits the fan with these companies.
Yeah, Brett, what were you gonna say?
I totally forget.
Oh well.
I'll just mention this real quick. I'm surprised they didn't go up for sale for anyone. Like, I'm pretty sure someone like Microsoft or EA or someone would.
That's
or
what I'm
Sony.
saying. It's like everything seems so shady, and it's got to be something going on behind the scenes. I'm sure a lot of big wigs didn't even know about this.
Microsoft was doing the rounds before E3, trying to get all these companies.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if Telltale was ever part of the discussion, or if they ever made themselves available, because something like this can be foreseen for months, several months, when someone's about to go down.
It makes me wonder, do you think, let's just hypothetical right now, just say Microsoft saw that Telltale maybe was up for sale and they were like, we're not trying to incur all that fucking debt. It could be something like that.
Well, they could have been in the red, but that should have been obvious to like investors and stuff. Like this, the end of this month is usually the end of Q3 for the fiscal year for most companies.
They're private.
They're private. Okay, so
I just looked it up. They're a private company because I was like, maybe there's some insider trading shit going on here where they had to actually careen it off the cliff to make it look like they didn't know what was going to happen. But no, it's a private company.
All right, well that's even worse then, because if you didn't have investors to look out for and you were pushing ahead with projects while you're deep in the red, then there's something shady going on with the money.
Yep.
Because they declared the closure just so they didn't have to pay anyone severance.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of other game studios that are already hiring these people, so hopefully they'll all find something. All right, man, let's move on, man. We got a lot of questions tonight. All right, next up, this one's simple, and Brian, this one's for you, man. He wants to know what your thoughts on the Revenant frame and changes to Neza in Warframe.
I've not had a chance to play with Revenant so much, but I think he's okay. I don't see anything exciting about him. I like the style. I like the way that he looks. He seems to play like old style Warframe, where it's just like press 4 and win. So that's easy. Makes my life a lot more fun. Changes to Nezha. I've not played him yet, so I can't really say. Nezha's just not my frame, so I can't really say that. Yeah.
All right. Nice and simple one. Going back. All right. G Megaforce is back, baby. All right. So his first question is, why do developers and publishers continue to add licensed materials like music to their games if they have to stop selling their game or make changes to it once the license expires? This problem doesn't seem to exist for movie studios when they add license, as far as I know. Is it because of a long-term license costs too much money for game publishers, but not too much for movie studios? Interesting question.
No, but actually, it does happen in movies. You just don't hear about it quite as much. There are a lot of films that are kind of in film limbo just because of the soundtracks that belong to specific music artists. It usually happens with something like that. If you ever heard of a band called Tangerine Dream, they've done a lot of films in the 80s. A lot of those films are in limbo because they need to renegotiate with the band. And in some cases, these movies have been re-released with alternate soundtracks just to get over that renegotiation process. So it does happen in film quite a bit.
I feel like now, though, a lot of these the newer games are just working out different deals. Back in the day, especially we all talk about it, like the Tony Hawk series, they just didn't think about it. It was never a thing. So then it's like, here it is. We got all these different consoles now. We have the Switch and all, like, oh, great to bring Tony Hawk. Well, forget the fact that Neversoft is not around anymore. But then you got all the bands. It was all licensed music. Then you would have to contact them because now you're putting it on a new platform. That was not part of the original deal. So it's like, oh, shit, how are we going to pay all this? And then all the other skateboard companies, remember, had real brands. So you got to do the same thing. It just becomes such a nightmare.
And what if some of those brands don't exist anymore?
Yeah,
it's possible, So yeah, like a lot of that sort of stuff. I mean, it happens quite, like it just because you are going to an external entity, you are immediately already opening up yourself to those sorts of situations in the future. That's the reason. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And also, video games have a shorter shelf life than movies do. And so, like, things that get licensed that have, like Moonwalker, the video game probably has licensed music, but no one produces that anymore. So people don't really, have those kind of discussions.
It's probably why you don't see something like Moonwalker on virtual consoles of games anymore, because it's just like it's already, you have to talk to the Michael Jackson estate and all that, you know, for as far as, you know, his likeness and all that sort of stuff.
Like, I remember when the Burnout series came back. Remember, we got that remaster came out, and they were like, "Oh, how'd they get all the music?" And it turns out that they had made the original deal with the publisher, the label, the record label first. It wasn't per artist. It wasn't like, "All right, we want this song. Contact that artist. Contact that label." It was one big label. So then it was more like just working out a deal. Like, "Hey, we use your stuff from our sport games." You know, you hear a lot of the same tracks most of the time, and like for the FIFA and the Madden and all those things. So they were like, "Oh, well, let's work out a deal." So then they just let it go. But it's when it's per artist, that's where it gets tricky. Like what happened with Alan Wake, you know, and that one got pulled. Same type of thing. It's like,
yeah, because they have to renegotiate with, as far as the thing, because his contract was, that's the whole reason why they removed it from the store, because his contract, that specific contract, ran out at that point in time. So that means that they needed to go back in and renegotiate with him about, you know, about the usage of the music. Now this is it's a different story when you're using internal artists, where you actually have a hired musician or composer within your own studio. You don't actually need to do those sorts of things. That's part of the reason why Silent Hill games have always, you know, in whatever release you see of Silent Hill, they will always have the same music. Same thing with you know, with
Bungie and
with
Halo.
but like games like Metal Gear Solid, that can be a bit of a slippery slope, because they hired Harry Gregson Williams to do all the music, which probably means that there's some sort of specific deal that Konami has to do with him in order to get the rights to all the music again.
I can remember Call of Duty for a long time. They hired Hans Zimmerman, and he does all like the action movies. He does all that stuff, you know, and his stuff is out on. It's funny, you can get all the Call of Duty soundtracks and stuff on Spotify. It's weird, but it's there.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add, and Adam, you already said this, is like they're not thinking that far ahead, man.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They're not going like, "Oh yeah, maybe in 5 years when with the PlayStation 6," they're not thinking about that shit. You know,
5-10 years.
Yeah, they're not thinking about that. You know,
they're not thinking about it. They're not thinking about it.
Yeah, so I like that question. That was a good one. Right. See, by the way, we're also dealing with our own license bullshit too. You know, it's like, who would have known that, you know, in 10 years that people that were trying to stream this game are going to get flagged? No one could have foreseen shit like that, you know? Anyway, next question. This was a fun one. Has Smash Brothers lost its charm? When it first started out, it was just a simple celebration of Nintendo's most well-known franchises. Now, with the inclusion of trashy characters like Bayonetta, whatever the hell the things from Splatoon are, random JRPG characters, etc., it no longer has the same appeal. Who the hell wants to see Bayonetta versus Mario? I want to see that, man. Bayonetta's not trashy at all. She's fucking awesome. You know, that's a reason to get that.
I guess he's not a Bayonetta fan.
I guess not. That would, but to me, Bayonetta, Metal Gear, that's a reason to buy that trash ass game. You know, to me, you know, you guys know me. I don't like Smash Bros. That shit never had a charm for me. So whoever does like it, you know, how do you feel about this? You think this thing lost its charm?
If you ever go to any Nintendo circles anywhere in the planet, this game is still at its peak. It hasn't lost any luster, and I think most people who don't like Smash Brothers are the ones that like are still today talking about why is this still relevant.
I don't like it,
but the fan base is equally great as it is rabid, and there's a lot of good things about that community, and there's a lot of horrible things about the community, but they're really passionate about that game, and I like the game a lot. I play every iteration of it. But yeah, I don't think it's lost any luster. I think also the game doesn't release too frequently in order to sort of deteriorate in its luster. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I just speaking as an outsider, I don't think it's lost its luster because the guys are still hyped about it. You know, the new Smash Brothers comes out. Look, did you see what happened to just the trailer for the last one? Motherfuckers were fainting, and grown men were fainting in front of other people. You know,
the problem is that a lot of these people are kind of upset because they feel, I guess, it's immersion breaking, or maybe there's a better term for it, because, you know, there's these random ass characters in their viewpoint, when it should be, you know, a collection of classic Nintendo characters.
It should be pure.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they don't remember, like, when it originally, like the very first Smash Brothers, every gamer was like, what the fuck is this random ass bunch of motherfuckers doing together? Like it wasn't as unified as it felt. And every time that they add new characters, if you haven't necessarily been playing every iteration, you're always like, who the fuck did they add? Who the fuck is this guy? Why'd they add this person?
Well,
like, it just seems weird.
I don't get why having more choice is a bad thing. Like you don't have to use those characters if you don't want to.
Exactly. It's not, and it's not a bad thing. I was gonna say that exact thing. Like you don't have to use them, but like some people view Snake as a staple in Smash Brothers. Other people were horrified when they introduced Snake. I remember it actually being a hot topic issue because like this is not the same character as the other Smash Brothers characters. And people were really against Snake being in there, and now people fucking love Snake. And now people are gonna bitch about Bayonetta. It's the circle of life.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like, you know, when it comes to what you call the celebration of things, Nintendo, at the same time, it also means these other properties as well, because all of these things have appeared on a Nintendo console at one time or another. Back in the day, seeing, no, people that really didn't care, know exactly what game companies were which, and they're just like, all right, Metal Gear is on Nintendo. It's only been on Nintendo. Oh, this thing has only been on Nintendo too. So I think that's what they're trying to pay homage to. Not only the fact that, the lineage of the actual Nintendo things, but also the things that are synonymous with the original, with the Nintendo Entertainment System when it originally launched. That means, putting a Castlevania in there. That means putting a Solid Snake in there. And then also homaging the future, which was Bayonetta. And the fact that Sonic had eventually appeared on a Nintendo console and had an exclusive game. I think that's what they're really trying to kind of go with. They're not sticking random people in there. They're not going to all of a sudden put Call of Duty guy in there. Or
would it just be a fucking gun?
Even if it did, that's the point of the game.
But no, but I'm saying the method to the madness of all of this is really it is still paying homage to the lineage of Nintendo, because of the fact that these things appeared, these well-known fan favorite franchises have also appeared on them as well on the console.
Yeah. By the way, violence and empathy. I like this. He's like, hey, if you don't like Bayonetta, you can just beat her up in the game. There you go. That's perfect. Yeah,
except for Cloud. Cloud has never been on a Nintendo console. But what he represents is he's a representation of Final Fantasy in general.
Interesting, but I mean, he's coming soon.
He's gonna be. He's obviously gonna be. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right, yeah, go ahead, guys. One more. Anything else?
I don't think it's lost any luster to answer the actual question.
Yeah, no, it has lost its luster. These guys are actually more hyped than ever now.
I mean, it's fun as hell.
I mean, the way the question is written, it's like they don't remember that Bayonetta and all these characters were actually in the previous versions. This is kind of like this version of the game is kind of like the nth of the game.
Well, he's not supposed to be talking about. He's just saying in general, it has been losing its luster for years. That's what he's saying.
Maybe he feels like it's been losing its luster.
I think even Melee purists are embracing this game, which is difficult. Like they hated Brawl. I don't know if they embraced the Wii U one. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, wait a minute, this is just the Wii U game. Why are they embracing this one all of a sudden?
Yeah,
because it's a more popular console.
Is that it? It's the same game. All right.
Didn't they announce that the Wii version
Nintendo
of Mario is showing up now? Isn't that coming to Switch?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that's what they're doing,
and it's going to be the hottest shit ever. It's
like Tony. Why? Even though you don't get this, this is the kind of game that is a party game. It is the most fun when you are playing in a room with 3 of your friends, and it is easy to bring your Switch over and put it in a living room with 3 of your friends. That's why one of the reasons people are so excited for this game. Like,
and you couldn't do that with the Wii U one.
The Wii U was kind of a dick to move.
No, like let's say you have the Wii U version, and you invite 3 of your buddies with their pads. You play the game. You know?
assumes that you have 4 people that all own it.
Yeah, but you just said so. What
you
if
need one Switch? I have one Switch. And
oh,
4
okay, I see what you're
controllers.
saying. Because I'm like, wouldn't it be the same thing if you're bringing 4 Switches to a house? You know what I'm saying?
No, it's one Switch. 4
No, you don't
controllers.
need
Yeah,
to
yeah, you know, you're right about that. I always forget
you're
about
not,
that.
You're
Yeah.
not bringing a Switch. You just need to have the extra controllers.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I didn't think about that.
I can bring the whole
guess.
party with me.
Yeah. And yes, I do understand that it's a party game. That's why I don't like Smash Brothers. It's not a real fighting game to me. It's just a
You know
party
what?
brawler.
I challenge the people who say that it's not a fighting game to a match in Smash Brothers. Carlos, are you going to be on my team?
It's
I'm
interesting.
not gonna. But why would I want to play a trash ass game?
That's kind of a dumb challenge.
Yeah, that's a stupid one. Yeah,
That is a dumb challenge because it's like, oh yeah, I challenge a person who doesn't like this game to a battle in the game.
Yeah, that's
come on,
dumb.
dude.
What is that?
It's always fun. I'm not.
Yeah, you're gonna win because you actually play this shit. I don't play
you're gonna
Smash
obviously
Brothers.
win. So what are you gonna, the win's not even gonna seem even earned. It's like it's like punch.
Fuck, I'll give Tony 2 weeks of playing it, and I'll play it cold.
He probably won't even take that challenge. He'll probably just be like,
why would I
I'm
waste
just
my
gonna
time doing that? I'm not playing that shit.
Tony's gonna
You
be
know?
like, I'm just gonna go back to playing Fist of the North Star later for this shit.
Yeah, Death, Taxes, Pineapple Pizza, and Smash Brothers for Tony.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Things I don't like.
Yeah, I messed it up, but
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, well, on Death, what do I have against Death? Death is good. Some things need to die.
Tony prefers Death to Pineapple Pizza and Smash Brothers.
Hey, I will say this though: I would rather play Smash Brothers than eat pineapple pizza.
Ooh, shots fired.
You know?
Question: if you had the choice of attending a party with Pineapple Pizza and Smash Brothers, or getting hit by a bus, which would you choose?
Oh yeah, Smash Brothers. I don't want to get hit by a bus.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
Tony likes Smash Brothers at least that much.
Yeah, I'll play it. I'm just saying, I just don't recognize it as a proper fighting game. It's a party brawler. If I'm drunk, that's a game you play when you're drunk with friends. That is perfect for that. You know, and that's
I'm curious,
fine.
What's the line in the sand for you to consider be a fighting game?
Because
I know that I'm not saying this game is a pure fight. It's a brawler. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, where does the line? What toes the line?
Street Fighter, Capcom fighting games, Virtua Fighter, Soul Calibur, those type of experiences.
Not franchises, mechanics. Like what makes a fighting game?
Oh, the thing is like, I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. Skill. Like you actually need to like learn and hone your skills and stuff. Like Smash Brothers, like I feel like whoever is the guy that smashes his buttons the fastest, who's like the twitchiest guy, he's gonna be the winner. He's not really skilled per se. He's just really good at just reacting to shit, like just pressing a bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? Like when I see Smash Brothers, it just
that's
seems,
why your rejection of the challenge is bullshit.
Why is that?
Because you're like it comes down to having no skill, but I don't have as much skill as the other.
I don't have skill. Like basically, you probably can't mash buttons crazy like you can. Like a 6-year-old will be better at me than Smash Brothers because they have those crazy Twitch reactions and stuff. Understand? Like if I'm there trying to bring in skill, I'm gonna lose to the twitchy guy because it's not made for me. It's made for those people. Understand? That's how I see it.
Twitchy guy.
Yeah,
but Street Fighter is twitchy as hell.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
You need skill. Like if you go
to count frames, you need combos, you need cross-ups and mix-ins and all that stuff.
If you go into Street Fighter trying to button mash, you're gonna get destroyed.
Yeah,
twitchy and button mashing is two different things.
No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's not.
It's the exact same thing.
No, twitchy is you need to react super fast to whatever.
Okay, so let's throw that out there. Button mashing.
But Smash Brothers isn't button mashing.
No,
only people who button mash are the people who don't know how to play, and they always lose.
Noobs, and they always get their ass handed to them. If you put a button masher up against Smash Brothers, you will actually see a noob get punished more by a veteran in Smash Brothers than you would in Street Fighter. I would actually say that the skill gap there is wider.
So you're saying, oh my god, so you're saying that Smash Brothers is more of a legitimate fighting game than Street Fighter?
No, but I'm saying it requires equally or as much or more skill.
Yeah, well,
No,
I'm not. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
I have to disagree because, like, Smash Brothers has no valid way to cross up a character when you fight. It has no mix-ins. You can't combo. It's all forward and one button. The combos are bullshit. Like if you combo in like Marvel vs. Capcom, there's definitive ways to combo, or you could cross up somebody and do these advanced moves, right? You can't do that in Smash Brothers. There's no way. There's no like list of moves for a guy. It's all like hit up an A or forward an A.
It's a more fluid combat system.
And that's all it is. And that how many combinations of things can you make up with that?
But I'll raise you this much: Street Fighter's combos don't have nothing on Marvel vs. Capcom. Because Marvel vs. Capcom, you can do combos up the wazoo.
Yeah, but Marvel vs. Capcom is a real fighting. Bro, you just compared a real fighting game to another real fighting game.
No, because this is sort of like a purity contest. Like you're saying, because this one's more complex and more sophisticated in some aspects than the other one can't be. It's just Street Fighter is just more. It's more of a pure.
Well, not even just Street Fighter. Like, okay, use Killer Instinct as an example. You could do combos up the wazoo in there too, but they require much more skill. You have to like literally stare at frame counts and think about what you're gonna do, or like I have to test the guy. So I'm like, let me do a low light attack or high upper attack. Let's see what he does, and then like from there I could figure out, okay, I can cross him up by jumping over and doing a low medium attack and whatever. You never have that thinking process in Smash Brothers. It's all right. These assholes are smacking each other around on that side of the screen, so I'm gonna wait till they're over 200%. Then I'm gonna run in and pick up a mallet and smack everyone. Or Kirby's Glider, whatever bullshit item drops.
By that logic, though, it takes more skill to play Devil May Cry than it does Dark Souls, because Devil May Cry has combos and a more intricate fighting system, whereas Dark Souls is more based on timing and spacing.
Different kinds of skills, though. Different kinds of like, yeah, you definitely need like more combat skills in a Devil May Cry than you do a Dark Souls. Dark Souls is more about like just waiting for your chance to actually fight. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, you totally need more skill to play Devil May Cry. No.
Yeah, you do. You totally do need more skill. Dark Souls is all about you don't.
I'm tapping out of this conversation.
Yeah, dude, I've played them. I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Dude, you think I haven't played Devil May Cry?
Yeah, I know you have, but like, I think your love of Dark Souls
does not require more skills than Dark Souls.
Yeah, it does. I
think it does if you're going for the plot.
If you're going for S rank on everything,
if you're like true you need way more fucking skill. You know?
Yeah, I have to agree with Tony here.
Yeah, that's not easy.
If you want people, so
Dark Souls. Here's the thing: for Dark Souls, if you're patient, you're gonna win. Like Devil May Cry, you need actual, real fucking skill to beat that shit. You know,
I'll give more of it to Tony than to Brett, but I'm kind of torn because like in general, you can play a Devil May Cry game just mashing buttons and beat the game. But if you want to be good at Devil May Cry and have these intricate combos and get S ranks on all those combos, then you need to be really, really good.
I'm not saying both don't require skill. I'm saying that they're both different kinds of skill. One is combo based, the other is spacing and timing. But I don't think one necessarily is inherently easier or harder than the other.
If you give a kid Dark Souls and you give a kid Devil May Cry, they'll have an easier time beating Devil May Cry than Dark Souls. That's why that's the part that I give to Brett.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I like how this conversation went. That was good. All right, let's move on here because we still got a lot of questions here. Mr. Figs, he goes, "Great show as always. Thank you for giving us a great podcast every week." You're welcome, man.
You're welcome.
Thanks, man.
All right, his first question is, I'm glad he asked this question because this is one of those cases where everybody's focusing on one thing and no one's focusing on the shit we should be focusing on. So he goes, why are gamers and media spending so much time talking about social issues in Battlefield 5 when that Digital Foundry video they recently got released proved that the game has issues like inconsistent frame rates, screen tearing, and frame pacing issues? This is terrible and unacceptable for a competitive shooter. I feel DICE and EA are getting a pass for performance issues because people talk too much about social issues. That's a good point.
Can I ask a really dumb question?
Go ahead.
Has this game come out yet?
No.
What game?
No,
it got delayed.
Battlefield 5.
Guys,
No.
Like really quick, that analysis was on beta footage. So, and the whole point of the beta is that you can't represent the final gameplay on beta footage. That's just the thing that everyone knows.
I'm glad you brought that up, but
yeah.
But even then, don't you think that's a little bit something we should be more talking about than like, oh, they have a woman with a robot arm?
Not really. I mean, like it's beta. Like it's like saying like, yeah, like the car's not off the lot yet, but yeah, it doesn't work like a car yet. Like, well, of course not. It's not off the lot yet. Like, you can't really expect a car to be up to standards if it's not out yet. You know, like once it's out and if it has that, then yes, it deserves to get taken to the trash. But if it's not out yet, then it's not really fair.
And these are all sort of performance issues. They're not like aesthetics. They're not story kind of things. They're not anything like inherent like bad things about the game. It's just, you know, like the frame rates, the screen tearing, all that stuff. It seems like it's something that should be fixed day one. But if it's not, then we'll get our.
Isn't core mechanics actually supposed to be fixed in alpha phase, and then content is the thing that's being tested through beta phase?
Essentially, yes.
So if it's in beta, it shouldn't be suffering from crippling performance issues. It should be suffering from balancing new additions to the game, player feedbacks from maps, weapon drops, drop rates, things like that. We shouldn't be
Then it's not crippling though. It's just not on the level that people expect it to be at. Like crippling. It just means that there is a severe hindrance in how it works, but it's not severe. It's just not optimized. Like I went through. I watched the whole thing. It's like, yeah, it's just not optimized yet. Like, yeah, that's fine. That's beta footage. Like, even go back and look at beta footage for like any game that they've done, and it's the same thing. It's like, hey, the beta footage for Call of Duty is not as good, but yet when the game comes out, like, it's all fixed. Like, that's just the way things are. Like, that's the way things have been. It's usually like the last couple of months is when they go through, they optimize things, make things run better and smoother.
Yeah, if it's just down to optimization, no, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, like, I'm honestly not seeing anything that I would be concerned about. But if it does come out and it's like really bad, then yeah, it deserves to be taken through high hell. Like, I have no problem with that. But in terms of it being a pass, it's not a pass. It's just the way that games are made. You know, it's like saying like, oh yeah, this car is going to pass because it's still in development, but yet it has no wheels yet. Like, well, it's still in development. Like,
I don't know if there's so much getting a pass though as throwing a red herring.
It's like tears in a puddle, man. You got to look at it that way.
So I'm, based on everything that's been said, let's put a pin on this until the actual game comes out. Figs, feel free to ask us the same question again after the game drops. If it still has those issues, yeah, because you're right. If it's in development, it's in beta, that's not really fair,
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not a done game.
Well, there's I think we missed part of it because wasn't the back end of the question asking about whether or not they're using social issues to distract from the actual possible issues of the gameplay?
Well, he didn't say that specifically. He's basically saying, why are people focusing on that, when they should be focusing on the gameplay?
Because DICE is focusing on that.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. He didn't ask that, but that is, one way to see it. It's like, do you think DICE is focusing on that because they maybe feel their game... But why would they say that? Why would they feel the game's not up to snuff, though? You know what I'm saying?
It's not even that. It's a way to kind of distract people from criticizing the game while still appealing to a mass group of gamers and seeming like you're taking the righteous side. It's avoiding landmines. It's free publicity. And it detracts people from looking too closely and criticizing your game. Or if that happens, then it's drowned out in the media by all this other stuff you're talking about.
All right, this is coming from me, by the way. By the way, Brett, this is coming from me. That sounds very cynical, and that's coming from me.
Here's the thing: companies don't care about you. Companies aren't people. All right, companies have a bottom line, and they want to make money. They don't care about your values. They care that you care about your values, and you buy products.
And they will use the fact the fact that you have matching values or to sell you a product. That is what is called an audience.
Yeah, and that's exactly. It's not me. It's not me being crazy or putting on a tinfoil hat to say no. That's exactly what's going on here. Even if they care about it, there's better ways to go about this kind of shit than beating the band about it. Like, you could make a silent, strong statement, but this is good advertising. In today's market, it is. And why would you think it is anything but advertising when you have astroturfing and shit?
it's the same sort of technique that like a company like EA was also EA on this situation too, when the game Dante's Inferno came out and they hired a bunch of fake protesters, religious protesters protesting a game that nobody ever heard of, because they wanted to get that look.
Yeah, I just don't buy the idea of like, DICE knows they have a crappy game on their hands, so they're going to do all this shit to sidetrack.
I don't think
that's the part. I'm like, I don't know about all that.
I don't think they have a. I don't think they think they have a horrible game.
Yeah, like I don't think.
I do not think.
But I do agree that they're definitely using that shit for the controversy for promotion. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But like, hey, we have a shitty game. We're going to do this. I don't know about that.
I never said that. I never said it was because they have a shitty game. I'm just saying they're taking advantage of the climate, and this is advertising.
Well,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Why is everybody talking about this? It's because they want you to.
It's the same. Yeah. It's the same reason why, it's the same double-edged sword with a game, a Rockstar game like Grand Theft Auto. As much as people kind of pan on that game, right? Where it's like, oh, there's violence. The popular culture would talk about that sort of stuff. That's also the best fucking advertisement that you could get out there, because it's just a bunch of people who don't know anything saying, you could do all these horrible things in the game. And then you have one sect of people saying, holy shit, really? I didn't know about this game.
Oh my God, the whole game's about running over hookers. No. It's just something you can or choose cannot to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to fucking kill hookers and shit.
It's not beyond any sort of company to use what is within the zeitgeist to sell something to somebody.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm just like, I guess I just misheard what you said, right? Because it seemed to me like, hey, they got a shitty game. They're gonna do all this other stuff. Like, what?
The minute that you sort of realize that sort of what's going on, that is when when their marketing is ineffective.
Yeah. By the way, you need to say this though. If their whole, if conjuring up this controversy. If they hope conjuring up this controversy was going to bring them sales, that shit is backfiring because them pre-orders are low.
Yeah. Low. Dude, every company is doing that, though. Every company wants to appear woke, and it's not really helping anybody.
Well, yeah, it's backfiring for everyone, man. Comics? Look at comics.
There's a very famous phrase out there that I'm not going to utter right here about going woke. I'm going to leave it at that, man. But all I'm saying is the shit is backfiring, guys. You may want to rethink your position here.
It is. And Tony, I know the comment that led you astray was me saying that it distracts from the development of the game. What I meant by that is the classic, this is beta footage and not representational of the final product. That's a hole that every developer is wary of falling into. So why not promote being so woke in order to not fall into that hole and appear to be the good guy on the side and sell some extra games? Get some free publicity.
Put an asterisk on sell extra games.
That's the plan, at least.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the plan.
I think, I also, also a thing about it is that also, what can also hurt the reputation of a title is the fact that if a game doesn't seem socially conscious in some way. You know what I mean? That is why they'll probably say, "Oh, well, no, we didn't mean this, or we didn't do it." Like just to kind, because it can easily be, because the problem with a lot of that's the way a lot of that stuff is going is the way a lot of popular media kind of goes is that they're the outsiders looking in. They don't know what it is like to play a lot of these games, so what they see is just the surface. So instantly, that sort of situation can turn into something bad.
Yeah, or it could go the other way. Brian, what was that game that was set in classic medieval Europe, and they're just like, there's just not black people in this area?
Oh, Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Kingdom Come. That game sold gangbusters.
Oh yeah. It was a good game too, And I don't even like all that micromanaging shit. I thought it was good. Anyway, yeah. Battlefield. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. All right. Next question. With PlayStation, what happened? Go ahead, Manny.
One more thing on the Battlefield.
One more thing.
I feel like the one thing that they really kind of set this thing apart from the rest of the Battlefield games is to not number it and to kind of put it into its own sort of space. If we were going to go into crazy kind of steampunk World War II Battlefield world, then do that game and call it something else. Don't throw fantasy in this whole situation when it was supposed to be somewhat realistic. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden,
you notice how you notice how they're saying, "Oh, our interpretation of World War II." That's very interesting. That's the first time I heard that.
When you call it, your interpretation of a certain specific event, then that means we're going into some sort of obvious fantasy. So then that means, why don't you, if we're going to go into Fantasyland, then go for broke. Fucking throw give people two steampunk mechanical arms, or running around and
dragons over Normandy, man. Let's go.
Well, that's what Wolfenstein is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fantasy World War II, and they could have done that, but this isn't what that is. If they try to play that off, they're going to get called out for it. It's like, that's not what you were doing. We know what this interpretation was about.
Very interesting, man.
They actually talk about. They actually made us. I think it was them that made a statement about them not being an authentic game. It's more of an immersive game.
Yeah,
that they want to give you the idea and the feel of what it's like to be in war, not necessarily the authentic actual experience. So which roughly translates to
setting, then,
which automatically translates to we want this to feel like a war movie or an action movie, not necessarily make you feel what it was like to be actually more like. The game is not authentic at all. At all.
But I mean,
which is interesting because the earlier Battlefield games, took pride in the fact that they were authentic
in all of that
fuck.
sort of stuff. Yeah, very like same thing with Battlefield and Medal of Honor. Those games would try to get interviews with real soldiers to find out what it's like. So again, if we're gonna go into Fantasyland, then go into Fantasyland and don't start throwing it in a part of this. Call it Battlefield. Fucking
I feel like Call of Duty did that.
Yeah, just give me dragons over Normandy. Yeah, I may buy the game.
Tony, I would play the shit out of it.
I totally would. Give me that fucking game.
So if we're gonna go to Fantasy Sci-Fi Land, then let's go to Fantasy Sci-Fi Land version of World War II or that. There's plenty of games that actually do that. Friggin' Metal Gear does weird shit like that. There's other games that do it too, but don't try to give it a bit of a different name so that it people already know what that is.
I want to play as the Panzer Dragoon Division, man.
Yeah, the Panzer Dragoon Division. Yeah, right?
Oh, man. All right, before we get into trouble, let's move on to the next question here. With PlayStation Classic in December, many people are complaining about backwards compatibility. My question is, shouldn't gamers appreciate that Sony used their resources to give us more PS4 exclusives and better interface and user experience than PS3 by dropping backwards compatibility? Then he names that we also got some remasters in the form of Resident Evil 2 remake, Last of Us remake, Uncharted trilogy, Spyro Crash, Ratchet, yada yada yada. So what do you guys say? Should we be thankful to Sony?
I loved it when those games were on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Oh wait, most of them weren't. Sorry.
I ain't got to be grateful for shit. I paid money for it. I don't need to be thankful. This ain't a fucking charity. I bought this shit.
So I mean, why should we be thankful?
He's saying like gamers. He's wondering why don't gamers appreciate the fact that instead of like wasting money on backwards compatibility with PS3, they gave us a bunch of exclusives.
But obviously they are putting money into backwards compatibility because these things still exist.
Yeah, I don't think it's a waste of money at all. And in fact, I mean, it's been proven successful for both Nintendo and Microsoft. So why would it be a waste of money? I don't understand that comment. It's like, and we know why the backwards compatibility is difficult for PS4 because the cell's a bitch to emulate, and they have problems with it. So they just didn't really want to do it.
I think what he's saying is if they only have so much money, we should be grateful that they directed all the money towards innovation and moving forward instead of.
Well, that's what I want to understand. What the innovation is.
What?
Yeah,
that's my point. That's where I was like, you mean you just pocketed innovation? You just pocketed the extra money. Some CEO pocketed the extra money. Like it isn't an either or thing. And oh, by the way, backwards compatibility still opens revenue streams for Sony that generate some cash flow.
Yeah, so, obviously they know nostalgia is revenue because the PlayStation Classic is coming out, right?
Sony has the PlayStation 4 #1 in all consoles this generation, sold over 70 million consoles sold. I bought 3 of those fucking consoles. They need to fucking thank me.
Fuck them. Yeah. You made your investment.
Backwards compatibility.
Yo,
A bunch
Carlos,
of people
remember Carlos
bought-
is like 82 point something percent. Don't get it
Yeah,
twisted.
it's not settled. It's not settled. Fake news.
No, because you know these motherfuckers are gonna come after you, Carlos. Those are wrong numbers.
Oh,
those are
okay,
wrong
okay.
numbers, motherfucker.
I thought you were mentioning it because of the bet.
No,
You were,
I'm talking about
trying
these
to rub
guys
it
in the comments, man. You know they're
Okay.
coming.
Yeah, the also, I mean, people bought 2 systems. A lot of people upgraded to PS4 Pro, so they got 2 systems. People buy special edition systems, whatever. But the thing is, like, that extra revenue Sony could put into real innovation. I'm not sure. I'm not understanding the innovation part, because that innovation happened between PS3 and PS4's launch. It's not like they came up with some wild new technology. Or I'm not understanding where that innovation is coming from. Is he
Yeah,
mean the studios and the games, or-
he didn't say the word innovate. He just basically said that we should appreciate the fact that they spent all that money making new exclusives.
But they would have had that money anyway. I don't see where they would have lost it.
They're if that's the case, then Sony is hypocrites, because the first half of this generation was just nothing but remasters. They're essentially doing a freaking virtual console just with the last gen.
Yeah, like the first 2-3 years, a lot of remakes, man.
Yeah, where were those exclusives back then? Yeah, we're getting a lot of those right now, but it's not like they spent a vast majority of their sort of infrastructure to get this. They already had this intact for over a decade.
You know what? I think you guys have changed me. I'm going to change my answer. I actually am grateful that Sony has decided that it's much more lucrative to resell me the same games instead of giving me backwards compatibility. That's big of them.
Yeah. What about the user interface? He says user interface and user experience.
Microsoft would have put you out of business if you didn't upgrade your fucking user interface and network and infrastructure. That's just the bottom line of it. If you're talking about the innovation that came between the PS3 and the PS4 in terms of that, they were just playing catch up because Microsoft was clearly beating the shit out of them, and that everybody knew it. That was how they pitched us on the whole idea that now we have to pay for PS Plus to play network games, because we're like, well, I guess if it's going to improve the interface and everything like that. So no, they didn't redirect money from backwards compatibility to do that. They charged us for it, and they're still charging us every month for it.
Yeah, I agree with Brett on that. Like that was a necessity for them. That wasn't for our benefit. That was for their benefit.
And it was also lucky for Sony that Microsoft shit the bed when it comes to user interface this generation. So they kind of have the de facto best one out there, you know. Since of the consoles, I know, motherfucker. What about Steam? Steam is a good interface, man, very good. But we're talking about consoles right now.
Consoles,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say that Steam one is a little bit debatable. I can't find certain things.
Nah, man, you go to big picture mode. This shit is awesome.
Yeah, big picture mode, but I don't give a shit about big picture mode. I want to see no.
Okay.
fuck big picture mode. We'll put in retarded big icon mode. That's like just as bad as the PlayStation Store. Come on.
I love it.
God, that sounds like a comment I would have made.
Yeah, I was expecting.
No,
that.
man, because I mean, Steam.
Yo, man, fuck that.
Steam is decent to navigate, but big picture mode is bullshit.
I like
Fuck
big
that.
picture mode, man. This shit is hot.
That's like putting a magnifying glass because you can't see. Like, huh? It's old person mode.
Oh,
man, he's like, it's the jitterbug, right? Remember the jitterbug control?
It's the jitterbug of fucking interfaces.
Damn.
I'm sorry, man.
PS Home's still in beta. Right.
Yeah, it's still in beta.
Yeah. Let's move on, man. We still got a bunch here.
We answered that one, right?
Yeah, we answered it enough. We answered it our way, man. You already know, man. All right, Caleb Kaiser, what are your top 5 open world games of this generation in terms of overall world design? He goes, okay, here's the thing. He goes, you could include upcoming games too. I kind of feel that's cheating because how do you know that shit is good until you played it?
Yeah, Brian's gonna say Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, well, he did. That's what he threw in here. But let me list his guy. You know, his top 5, and then we'll jump with ours. He goes Horizon Zero Dawn is number 1, God of War number 2, Days Gone number 3, Monster Hunter World number 4, Assassin's Creed Origins number 5, and he goes honorable mention Spider-Man and Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, I'm not trying to diss you or nothing, brother, but I just got to point out some, inconsistencies here. God of War, not an open world game. That's just a big fucking world. It's not open world. Monster Hunter World is not open world either. It's just hubs, Here's
the thing: is like those worlds are large, but they're not open world.
Yeah, they're not open world. Horizon Zero Dawn, yes, that's open world. Days Gone, I'm assuming that's open world. We don't know yet. And Assassin's Creed Origins, very open world and very fucking awesome. Anyway, Adam, I'm gonna go with you, man. What are your top 5 best open world games in terms of like world design for this generation?
For this generation,
yes.
Oh man, damn, I would have to just say one, just The Division. That was the only one that really got me. I mean, Wildlands was okay, but it just wasn't that great. And I'm trying to think what else. Assassin's Creed, man, you went back into that world. I couldn't do it. I tried. It just once I had the bird and I had to fly around and gather stuff with the bird, I was like, nope, I'm done. So, man, that's pretty much it for me. That's the only one, just that design itself, and I hope they don't screw it up in part 2. But I'm trying to think anything else. I mean, the best out of all of them, and that's not even this gen, is Grand Theft Auto 5, and NPDs prove it. That's it. So the best for this one is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, man.
So we can't, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. I was thinking about this all day. I think I came up with 3. Horizon, in no order, by the way. Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't want to say Spider-Man because that's just New York. That's cheap.
Is that really open world? Like,
yeah.
Right. When I consider an open world, is not just that it's big and there's stuff to do, but the fact that it's just massive and there's tons to do.
Yeah.
Like it really feels like a world. It's living up to it. It's not just about getting collectibles and stuff. There's actually a lot of stuff to do. Like even Spider-Man. I don't really consider this an open world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to nail down what the fuck, because everybody seems to have their thing. My thing is open world's a giant world that has different landscapes and there's no loading. That's open world. But I'm not gonna really, Spider-Man. It is an open world game.
It's a sandbox for me.
Sandbox is more like free form
because you can finish it and nothing.
Are free form.
Yeah, they're more free form. Yeah,
and nothing else happens. It's just like it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. As opposed to like Grand Theft Auto and stuff, you're like, oh man, this is like a whole other experience. How did I miss this? And it just sends you on another adventure.
Yeah, but I think that would count as a rating as a good open world game. Like Spider-Man doesn't have enough to do for you, but it is open world.
Yeah, it's open world. Yeah,
it's like Minecraft.
Yeah,
like
but anyway,
yeah.
But anyway, again, because we don't want to spend too long here. We still got a bunch of questions. Horizon Zero Dawn. I want to say Spider-Man, but no, it's just New York, so that doesn't count. You know what? Even though the game annoyed me, like, I'm gonna say Zelda. Like you felt like you were in that world. Like it really gave you the sense of like being in there. I felt it was a little boring. There wasn't enough in there, but you really did feel like you were in that land. It, like in terms of transporting you to this other world, it definitely did a good job of that. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Origins is another one. Fucking amazing. Ancient Egypt and all that. That was really good.
You really like that game.
Yeah, that game is amazing, man. And I think that's it. I could be missing something here. Again, I you know what? In terms of world design,
my favorite. Damn, that was awesome.
Yeah. In terms of world design, I'm gonna get hate for this. The Batman, the last Batman game, the Arkham Knight. It's fucking Gotham City, dude. It's awesome.
That tank ruined everything.
Yeah, I like the tank. I think I'm the only one that liked the tank.
You were the only one.
Yeah, but remember, this is all personal stuff. 4. I got 4. That's good enough. Brian, let's go for you, man.
This generation, Witcher 3 top. Like, I'm surprised that this guy didn't say it, but I guess that he just never played it. Because again, if he did, I'm sure that it would have been the top for him. Because, like for me, nothing is really touching Witcher 3 in terms of open world design. Because it's just wow. You don't ever feel bored. There's always just something to do. Every city has like their own problems, and the problems are different. It's not just the same stuff. Like with games like Spider-Man, it's like, hey, you go to this region, you do the same things. You find your backpacks, you do your this, you do your that. Whereas with Witcher 3, it's like, okay, you go to this town. Okay, this town has a problem with like this beast. Okay, this town, the children have been kidnapped by this beast. or this town has a tree that's possessed. You know, it's all different. It all feels fresh.
Well, it would have been more impressive if Spider-Man also included all 5 boroughs.
Yeah, that would have been impressive.
That would have been impressive.
Yeah, it's my. I'm like, I was gonna say, can I do this? Yeah, I host a shit. I do have a number 5. And I'm gonna get hate for this too because people don't like this game except for Brett. Brett's the only one that's gonna be on my side for this one. Fallout 4. Fallout 4. That was a good. That's a good open. Like that. What I loved about that game. Yeah, like what I love about that world is like basically like I'll teleport to a zone and all of a sudden it's a fucking action movie. It's just shit's exploding everywhere. Fucking dudes killing each other. Like and I like how each region felt very different from each other. Like I felt with Fallout 3, it was just all the same ugly nastiness. You know, this one had different stuff going on. And then when you get to the bottom of the world with all that that radiation going, I'm like, yo, this is fucking nuts. You know, so yeah, Fallout 4, I definitely got to include that. Very good open world game there, or at least open world. You know, all right, Chris, what about you? Top 5?
I put Horizon on as number 1. I'd say Witcher 3 is number 2. Zelda is 3rd. I'd put Far Cry 5 as 4th, and then I'll put Fallout 4 as my 5th one.
I want to give an honorable mention to Far Cry Primal. Just throwing that out there. All right, Carlos, what about you?
Fallout, Breath of the Wild, Horizon, Spider-Man. How many is that? 4?
Yeah, you got 4. You got one more, man.
Oh, god damn it! What else? It's another one because I didn't play Assassin's Creed Origins.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, I won't mention it because I'm pretty sure it'll be mentioned later. But
hey, the water looks good, man.
Actually, I don't want to.
Say
nah, I'm not gonna. I was gonna mention Metal Gear 5, but nah.
I wanted to too, but nah.
Yeah, I was like,
it's a desert and it's Africa. I mean,
it was also cross-platform. It was PS3. And
yeah, so that don't count anyway.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
I don't know. Did I say Fallout?
Yeah.
So Fallout twice.
Just say Fallout twice, man. You're good. Adam only picked 3, so you're fine with 4.
Fallout and then Fallout 4, and then Fallout 4.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
I support that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brett.
I gotta say Fallout 4 as well. The reason I gotta add for it is that game is such a great world building game that it's built its brand almost entirely on that. The Pip-Boy, the music, Nuka-Cola, all these things have become like so entrenched in people's minds, and that's because it is such a compelling world. And you could say that it's very much like, Skyrim, for instance, because it's built a lot on the same engine, but Fallout just does such a great job of all the characters feel like, all the monsters feel iconic, all the music feels iconic, everything that's built, just down to all the aesthetics. It's, even the retro futurism 1950s thing it's unique, and that gets its number 1 place, or the place in number 1 for me. Far Cry 5 probably gets the second one. I don't enjoy that setting very well, but goddamn, it did a good job of transporting you there and actually building a world around it and making it believable, making it immersive. Dying Light. I want to throw Dying Light in there. Not necessarily because of the level design, but because of I have not played a game where I was actually concerned about like what time it was and where I was in context to a safe point and having to pay attention to my environment. And there's nothing as horrifying as running through the streets and pressing that button. God only knows why it's there. Its only sole purpose is to turn around, look at the things right on your heels and horrify the ever-living shit out of you. But you press it. For some goddamn reason, you press it. And as you're dodging through all these like dimly lit alleyways, it does a great job. I want to throw Spider-Man in there for the same reason. It's yes, it's New York, but it does a great job of making you feel like Spider-Man in New York. The way that I've said before, they pace the crimes. Like every time you're about to do a story mission, like, oh no, there's a mugging going on right near you kind of thing. They make you feel like Spider-Man. What is that? 3 or 4? I think that's 4.
I think you're 4, yeah.
And I want to throw in there Conan Exiles. I know nobody else played it, but honestly, when I played it, I kept saying to my buddy Morgan, who was playing it with me, that this is some of the best straight world building that I've ever seen. Every mountain you want to climb, even more than Zelda, because they have the climb anywhere mechanic too. And it was just, every place was different. Every place was dynamic. Every hill that you crested, there was another thing perfectly laid out just over the horizon, compelling you to move on. So exploring in that game was just amazingly fun. And there was a ton of stuff to find, and it naturally and fluidly led you through all of these points so that you kind of traverse the map, even though it's kind of more of a sandbox game. It did have a very loose story, and it actually forced you to move from zone to zone, or it didn't force you, it compelled you to move from zone to zone, because you'd be like, oh man, I wonder what's around there. I'm familiar with this area, and there's this really cool mountain peak over there, and you climb up the mountain, you're like, oh man, there's a really cool valley over there. Let's resettle over there. And so you just kind of end up moving forward through the game. So it's the only game that I can sit in this generation that I was just on pure level design. I could sit back and say like, holy shit, this is fucking good. Like I stopped playing several times to remark on it. So I had to throw it in there, even though nobody else played it.
Right.
Fine. I mean, it's because it's your thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me, it's interesting because I don't actually play very many open world sorts of games. Like, granted, at least I want to say at least I play at least one or two, open world games per, at least in this generation, per year. So I can't really say Nier Automata had a great open world. I mean, it was an open world, and I was impressed on how well they used the space that they were in. But I mean, post-apocalyptic destroyed world. I mean, you've seen a bunch of those. I think the story within that world and why the world got into that state is what really shined about that game. So I can't really mention that one. Spider-Man, I mean, it's a very nice looking version of Manhattan. It's probably the best one that we've seen since probably one of the Grand Theft Auto that took place in Liberty City. Which, by the way, Liberty City did have some of the boroughs, some representations of the boroughs.
It had all the boroughs that counted.
I had all of them. Yeah, the Bronx.
No, just the ones that counted. No Staten Island, basically.
Staten Island don't count. It's not even a real borough.
It had Jersey. It didn't have Staten Island. So, so like I can't really mention anything. I mean, as much as I really like.
Manny, here's one. Hussein says this. I even put a question. I'm like, is that open world? But maybe it is. He said Gravity Rush 2 is one of his.
Yeah. You know what? That is actually. You know what? I'll put that in there.
Here's the thing. When we think about open world, we really think of giant vertical worlds, right? We don't really think of giant horizontal
worlds. You know what? You're very right. I'll put that on that list because I was quite impressed with the way that game worked, where it's like. It literally has, not only does it have the new game, the new Gravity Rush 2 world in it, but it also has it has all of Gravity Rush 1's world in it. And eventually you get the ability to fly between the different worlds when they, So yeah, I'm going to say that Gravity Rush 2's, open world was pretty fun.
There you go.
It has in fact, that game has the same, that urge in Spider-Man where you just want to just keep swinging around perpetually.
Yeah,
it kind of has that in that game too, and it's a weird sort of thing that you just love the way you kind of traverse through the world. That becomes part of the fun of moving, or just the plain fact of the plain function of locomotion in the game is actually. The superstar of it. So yeah,
pretty interesting how most games don't even really think about their locomotion. That's why when games come around to have really good locomotion, you're like, oh shit, it's just awesome just to move around. Just getting from point A to point B rather than just being a car or you just kind of running around. Yeah, it's interesting. All right,
how come
I'm going to move on because we still got more questions.
Final Fantasy, by the way,
because I don't really consider it is open world, but it's not one I would consider great.
Oh, okay.
It is open world though, but I wouldn't consider it great. All right, Hashling and Slasher. What do you prefer, frames per second or graphics, and why? Brian, go ahead. I already see you thumping there.
Frames per second all day, every day. That's why I play on PC, because I can't stand 30 anymore. I just consider it to be boring, and it doesn't look right. It looks really choppy. Like after you spend like a good time dealing with like stuff at 60, then going back to 30 is kind of like looks a bit odd. Looks choppy. Looks like it generally does look like a slideshow. It's weird. So yeah, FPS all day. It's why I bought a monitor that is capable of 144 hertz, so that my frame rate can go up to 144 frames per second and be good. It's why I did that. It's why I bought a GTX 1080. Again, like after you look at games that run at that high a frame rate for so long, you just can't get used to just how smooth and how fluid it all looks. And I prefer that. And I'll happily just lower all settings to get a good frame rate.
All right, Manny.
Actually, this might be controversial, but I prefer graphics over frame rate. I feel like frame rate is if it's kept consistent, I'm fine with it. I don't need to have a 60 every game to be 60 FPS. 30 is good for me.
Yeah, my thing is I choose frame rate, but it's like I'd rather have a game that like runs at 30 at 1080p than a game that's like 4K and 15 frames a second. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, as long as you give me 30, I'm good. But if you give me a little extra, that'd be great too. But if you give me 4K, I'm like, you're not even going to notice that shit on a regular TV. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to notice the extra frame rates, you know, and when it does it right, so I'm kind of glad, you know, the Pro, does some of that stuff. I'm playing Fist of North Star, has higher frames, which is nice. But actually, it depends on what you do, though, because I was going to say, Brian, I don't agree with you that it takes you a long time to go back. But I think if you're used to lower frames, maybe it isn't, because like when I play games that's like at 100 frames a second, you go back to like 30, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? And then it ends in about 5 minutes. But when you're playing at like a higher frame rate, you actually do not get used to that. It's kind of interesting, you know. But yeah, frame rates, and I also noticed that it's easier to play with higher frame rates too. Like when I was playing Tomb Raider at 30 frames, Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox, I was having a hard time with it. Then I played it on PC at like 120. I was like, that shit was easy, you know. And I think it's because of the smoothness. So it's not just like a visual thing, but like 4K graphics. 1080p looks the same to me, you know. So, but I don't have a 4K TV. That's probably why. But yeah, frame rates. I'll go with frame rates here. Because again,
there's more to graphics than resolution, right?
Well, you mean like effects and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's that too, but you know, that's kind of negligible too. Yeah, you know. But you don't really notice that shit when you're playing. Anyway, Chris, go.
I would say frame rate is super important. I agree that like it just like games play better when you have a higher frame rate. Like while graphics are nice and stuff, like I would not sacrifice a high frame rate for better graphics or more effects, you know. And I think, like you said, especially with shooting games, with first-person shooters and stuff, like a higher frame rate would definitely be advantageous to you over it looking better.
That's why, like, when the games give you the option, like, do you want higher frames or higher graphics? I'm like, higher frames. I don't give a fuck about the higher graphics, you know?
For me, the thing that sells games the most is gameplay, and gameplay is only helped or hindered by the way its performance is. So I will say frame rate.
Frame weights. Brett.
On my TV?
Especially on your TV.
You know?
I'm going to go with graphics. I don't necessarily care hugely about resolution, but things like lighting and textures and whatnot, like it bothers me when a character walks by a blue light and doesn't have, you know, the appropriate blue contours of their face or their body lit up. And I do get really excited, like walking down a dynamically lit hallway and watching the way shadows play against other things. I'm a visually stimulated person. I like shiny stuff.
Oh man, or seeing them use that tessellation trick where it makes the ground look like it's all crackly and bumpy. It's cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the fact that the artists are the ones that went with graphics. No surprise there.
It's all about the visuals.
Yeah,
you know?
Ain't no hate, man. You know, it just goes to, you know, what you're more into. You know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes from, I don't know, at least for me, it just comes from like, you know, as long as I'm able to function within the game. Like if it's like, to be honest, I even for me, like I said, was like the issue I have with frame rates is when it's a variable frame rate, where all of a sudden you're running at 30, and then you walk into a room and all of a sudden everything's fucking 60 frames per second. We know many games that are like that.
You know, or what about this? This is my personal pet peeve. The game is 60 frames, and all of a sudden the cutscene's at 30. I'm like, what the fuck?
Or back in the day, where remember it was a 30 frames per second game, and then they have a 24 frames per second cinematic because it was movie frame rate.
Yeah, keep it consistent, man. Adam, what about you? Frame rates or graphics?
Frame rates. Look at Doom at 60 FPS. That really changed everything.
Smoother than butter.
Games. Yeah, and it works great for sport games, basketball games, soccer games. I mean, to see that fluid motion, that just it's priceless. That's what makes the game so special. So it really comes down to whatever type of game you're playing. You know, that's why a lot of these games give you the option to switch back and forth, because everybody has different tastes and different views on it. So as long as we have the option, then it shouldn't matter. If you don't have the option, then people bitch. So
yeah. All right, next question. This is a fun one. People say the PC and console spaces are completely different ecosystems and shouldn't be compared to one another. Now Microsoft has been getting a lot of flack for putting their exclusives on PC. Some say there's no reason to buy an Xbox anymore and such. My question is, if PlayStation were to follow in Xbox's footsteps and port all of their exclusives onto PC, which probably won't happen, would they get the same amount of mockery, and would we still have a console war? Would everyone just switch to PC at that point? What are your thoughts on the hypothetical situation? I'm going to answer my last part. No one's automatically going to switch to PCs. No fucking way. You know,
here's the thing. When you it's like the difference. It's like the difference between, you know, obviously the enthusiasts are definitely going to do it, right? They're going to be like, yeah, man, I could have all these PlayStation or Xbox games running at, like, you know, at the highest frame rate, all that other shit. But then there is the which is what we call the majority of people, and that is the consumer market.
Can I put a clarification?
Go ahead.
Because the question asked whether all would convert, and then Tony answered with no one will convert. I don't think both of those extremes work. Like, I think you'll have some.
Oh yeah, some. Like,
no,
maybe,
I mean,
here's my question: what's the percent of guys that went from Xbox to PC?
Hey, I mean, I play all my Xbox exclusives now on PC.
Yeah, so do I. But I'm like, what is that percentage? Is it in the double digits at least? I don't think it is, to be honest. You know,
I agree. It's probably low, like really low. But
so, yeah, I'm glad you clarified it. Yeah, it's not. You know me, I like to make bold statements, but you know, you're right. Some would definitely be like, oh, shit, players on my PC. Fuck PlayStation. They'll definitely do that, but I don't think it'll be a good amount. It'll be like single digits percent. I highly doubt. Whatever it is on Xbox, it won't be like that, because like Manny said, the mass market, they like their consoles, they like simplicity. We've talked about many times why the consoles, if people just cared about power and shit, then PCs would be selling like crazy. That's not what people care. They care about convenience. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know how there's always that sort of situation where, you know, you have a thing that's for, like, for enthusiasts, and there's enthusiasts. Yeah, they're all going to jump on top of that stuff. But again, what is the most popular VR unit out there? It's not the fucking Oculus Rift or any of those other guys. It's the PlayStation VR.
Yeah,
why is that?
It's the one that goes on your cell phone.
Yeah, the one that goes, the one that needs the box that goes on your cell phone.
Yeah.
But one of the pretty much one of the most popular ones is the cheapest one, which is the PlayStation one, and the most easiest to get. You know, it's like that with anything. And then you also got to remember that, just because something is not as powerful doesn't mean it doesn't have a chance of doing well. Look at Mr. Switch. Mr. Switch is essentially a PlayStation 3.
Yeah, and it's doing gangbusters. It's going to outsell Xbox One by next year.
It's the most powerful console on the market at this point in time. It's going to beat that. That's the thing. Because what is it about these sorts of things? It's making things easy for people, and also price point. You know,
how many nosebleeds in the corporate sector of Microsoft do you think happened when they're like, wait a minute, the Switch is outselling us? We just made the most powerful console. Like I guarantee you, just some people like in that boardroom just started bleeding from the ears. They're like, wait, what? So let me get straight. Sony beat us by being the most powerful console. So we make the most powerful console, and then the Switch is beating us?
and that's a situation that's all about the games, man.
Yeah, they didn't realize that part. Like, yo, it's about the games, brother. You know. By the way, I do want to. I said this last week. I just want to clear it up again, right? Everybody in here, and mainly I'm including you too, right? Has a computer. It's more powerful than current gen systems, right? Yet everybody here, with the exception of Brian, still chooses to play on consoles because of the convenience. You know, so people aren't just going to automatically jump ship.
It's the ecosystem. I like the structure. Too, yeah. I like the people that's there. I like doing the trophies or the chivos on the Xbox and all that stuff. It's just that it just doesn't feel the same when playing on PC.
But again, you know, like what if the PC world offered you something like that, and that's what the hypothetical question is.
They sort of did. Steam has chivos and stuff, and then you can go and buy them.
That's a good question. Like, what if PlayStation 4 games were like, and I'm talking about real place, not these fucking streaming things, and you get your trophies. Because I'm being honest right now, like that's the main reason I haven't converted to PC gaming right now. Because I'm like, I like my fucking trophies. That's something to consider. You know,
yeah, like what if it was a situation like that for you, where it's like, okay, you know, PlayStation is also available on PC. Would you make that sort of thing? You still have the ecosystem that everybody else is. You can still message your buddies. You can still.
That's a good question.
I would play on PC exclusive 100%.
Damn, yeah, that's a good question.
See, but it depends on your setup. Like for me, I have my desk. I have this big 4K 40-inch. I have my computer, my consoles all connected to it.
Most people.
But I'm just saying.
Yo, how big is this? Son?
No, see, but that's the thing. But then, and I have a 50-inch 4K in the other room. But that's not. I'm not gonna have my computer connected to it. You know what I mean? It's like most people just have their consoles connected. The idea of having a PC plugged into something, like in the living room, which is most people have that setting besides me in my game room. So then it's different. I just don't see it happening as the norm. Because of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like for me, my PC's, my PC's here, my TV's literally right here. I could do it. There's still playing on PC is still not as easy for me because I'm trying to replicate the console experience. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm like, yo, if I can still get trophies and still keep the same ecosystem, ooh, that's a tough one.
Would you be able to play with people from the consoles?
Well, you know how Sony is with crossplay.
Yeah, and Brad, you know how often I play multiplayer. So
no, because you know my big beef with PC. Like, would that then bleed over into all your console games?
Well, the thing is, like, because I'm using I'm using Microsoft as the example here, Manny. Xbox, you know, like you can still play with each other, you know.
Yeah, and it would still be the same ecosystem as far as players go. Or it's like,
how do they manage their anti-cheats?
I don't know. Ask somebody at Microsoft about that one.
Who knows, man? But yeah, if you're playing Gears of War 4 on PC, you can play with guys on Xbox and vice versa.
By the way, Brett, like there's a lot of cheating that goes on in the PC world, but these big titles, you rarely see them. Like if you get it on Battlefield on PC, you won't see it that much. Like if you play Call of Duty on PC, you won't see it that much. Like I play Heroes of the Storm every day. I've never seen a cheater. So like, it really depends on the game.
You ever seen a bot?
A bot?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Like, I've seen a bot, but not on the games I mentioned.
Huh.
He's not talking about Crab Gamer either, Carlos.
No, I know what he's talking about.
People have to put time into it if they want to, and if no one really gives a shit, then they don't. That was the whole thing with Mac and PC. PCs are everywhere in enterprise, so they get hacked more than Macs.
Because I've seen like the last game where I saw it where it was friggin' blatant cheating was Dead Island. That was horrible.
That's years ago.
That's great. That was more breaking and exploiting games. I'm talking more about like aimbots and whatnot.
No. What this guy did was just fucking hold the trigger and shoot people everywhere. Like I couldn't even see where he was. Like I just saw like bullets flying to my head.
Didn't they do that in PUBG? I remember seeing a video with PUBG. The guy did that too. from a disc, they can just poof. They press a button and then he starts sniping people. From
Hussein says that PUBG and CS:GO are riddled with cheats.
Yeah, I remember seeing that shit.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I mean, it's hypothetical scenario. If I was playing one of these games, yeah, I would play it on console. I don't trust these PC guys. I'm just being honest.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if they said like, because the only thing that protects people on a console is the closed architecture of the system. So if you allow people to crossplay with PC, or maybe it's an opt-in thing at least, like you're throwing these people in with other people who have the ability to run parallel programs that. Because that's the thing. Some of this stuff, like the reason I bring up aimbots a lot is because it's a program that runs outside of the game. It runs in the space between where the game is. Like essentially, it runs in the space between the computer and your mouse and keyboard. So your computer and the game itself think that you're just moving at lightning reflex. So that you don't even need to like break the game or cheat it. You just essentially have something that knows what the code says. This is a player's name, or even like it finds like a player tag and just drops a little bit below that, and you get an instant headshot. That's my biggest fear, because there's no way to really protect against that. There's no way.
Yeah, no, that's a good concern, man.
I just want to mention that I have done that and cheated and used to play online and do that so I can get my rank up when in Halo on Xbox, which is a console.
Explain that you were a teenager.
I was.
This was last
13,
week.
I was 13 or 14 years old.
Last week.
I have repented for my sins. I have not cheated since.
But that was on a hacked Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and see that's my point. Like when you open up the architecture, it allows you to do that kind of shit.
I might have been 15.
Damn, Carlos.
Or last week.
Yo, what else you hiding, son? Anyway, let's move on to the next question, man.
I was a cheater. Hello, my name is Carlos.
Hey, get that shit out now, son. Otherwise, I was gonna say a joke. I'm not gonna do it. Yo, Carlos is gonna try to be, fucking Supreme Court justice and shit. Yo, this motherfucker was cheating when he was 15. We're gonna disqualify you, son.
Oh, that's it. You gotta be a fucking angel in this world.
You have to, man. All right, moving on here. Black Metal Gamer. So these are some leftover questions from a couple weeks ago. So again, I told you don't ask us questions for episode 200. You ask us questions.
I told you.
Oh man. All right.
So he told you.
Yeah. He goes.
Didn't he tell you?
Yeah. He goes. I know this has been asked sort of before, but here I go. With Spider-Man's success on PS4, what comic book characters from whatever universe should Microsoft have as an Xbox exclusive to be competitive with whatever Sony's doing? He goes, I want Ninja Theory to do Spawn, Punisher, or Daredevil. Interesting.
You know what? It would be be kind of crazy if Microsoft just to go against the Marvel connection on the PlayStation, if they lock down a really big DC title.
Imagine if they get Batman.
They get Batman or fucking Superman. They get Batman or fucking Superman.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, those would totally sell.
Batman would. Batman would.
That's the thing, though. Like, we already have a wildly successful Batman game. Like, I don't think you're going to receive the hype you would with a Spider-Man game.
Microsoft should buy Telltale and make a Batman game.
Well, Batman. Well, see, the thing is that Telltale doesn't make Batman games, like Spider-Man. If anything, their Batman game will be a totally will just be a funnel where they just tell you a story. But anyway, and you don't actually do anything.
Let's get away from the realism part of this and just go nuts. What do you want to see?
Deadpool.
There you go, bro. He stole your answer.
Yeah. You know what? He fits the Xbox personality.
Yeah, he does. He's perfect for Xbox.
He's kind of like an if you think about it, he's kind of like an anti-Spider-Man. So you have an open world-ish game with Deadpool in it. Assassinating people and fucking cursing them out, all kinds of shit. Why not? Yeah, Deadpool.
I agree with that.
Yep.
All right, come on, guys.
I'm trying to think of what else. I'd actually like to see another Star Wars game, and they make plenty of those comic books. So, like, not Battlefield though. Like, I want what 1313 was going to be.
Oh man, that's all you need to say. 1313, man. Let's go. Dig that code up.
That's going to like the way of 8 days and
Oh man, and
The
agent,
agent,
buried in the room,
and Crackdown 3.
Shit.
Oh man! All right, come on, guys. Go ahead, Chris.
I was thinking like Green Lantern because you could include the space stuff and like space exploration and stuff like that because he doesn't have to just be Earth, right? They could send him anywhere.
Well, Chris,
you could have this. What?
You know who would be perfect for a Green Lantern game? Insomniac. They make all these crazy ass weapons. They could do all that shit for freaking Green Lantern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about creativity with using the ring. So that would be good.
Yo,
that would be amazing. They just bounce between Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, wouldn't that be funny if Insomniac is just doing superhero games for both of these guys? They could do it, you know.
They could do it. They could do it.
That's hilarious.
It's a free country. It's a free country.
I'm trying to think of games that parallel because Spider-Man is a unique combination of successes. Like the IP is really big. It was a pedigree developer, and it has this awesome locomotion. So you almost have to have those same things in order to compete with it. You couldn't just have I don't know. You could just fly around in a Superman game or drive around in a Batman game. I don't know if that'd be the same.
Or how about running around like the Flash?
Running around with the Flash, Hulk jumping would be really cool if they did actually made a Hulk game with destructible environments.
Well, it's got to be like Ultimate Destruction, just like beef that up. You know?
Yeah. What if they lock down the Hulk on Xbox?
That'd
Green
be
console.
insane.
Yeah. Actually, that's a pretty good example because there was a good Hulk game the same way there was a gold standard Spider-Man game.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Hulk would be good. I'm down with that. Brian, what about you?
That Hulk movie.
Yeah. Brian, get in here.
I'm having trouble thinking. I can't really think of anything. My first thought was I really want an Iron Man game. I really do feel like Iron Man lends itself like really quite well to the idea of games. That you get upgrades, you get more powerful, and that is Iron Man. I mean, I was watching Infinity War for like the 17th time this week, and I was like, like I just looked at how his suit has evolved from like the first Iron Man film to where it is now, and it's like this is just perfect gameplay stuff because like start off with like a crap ass suit, and then over time you build it, it gets better, gets faster, gets more powerful, gets stronger. It just fits in with games. Like you start off small, you level up, you get more power, get more points. So I think Iron Man itself would work quite well with that, but last Iron Man games have been quite shit, so I don't know. Doubtful.
Yeah, I was about to say like those Iron Man games from Sega. Ooh.
Here's what I want to see happen.
Oh no, totally. I was meaning the Iron Man 1 and 2 games, like the movie license games.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh god. Horrible. Those Sega games, yeah, they were bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, don't copy those, please.
So since Microsoft is so focused on multiplayer, generally speaking, I think they should do a Marvel equivalent of DC Universe.
They did. Remember that one rip-off game? There was like, because remember they had the X-Men Legends games, Marvel's.
That wasn't the same though. DC Universe was actually a really decent game.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. Like, X-Men Legends, and then I forget the Marvel Universe version of that. I'm totally blanking on the game.
Wasn't
right
it just Marvel Super?
Marvel Ultimate Alliance?
Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance, yeah.
So DC had their own version of Ultimate Alliance, and it was crappy. So, Brett, I'm assuming nothing like that, right?
No. The thing that was cool about DC Universe was it was one of the very few games that actually got flying around like Superman. Right. It was the only game where I was like, actually, this game is really fun to fly in.
Is that their MMO?
Yeah, the MMO, yeah. Talking about games that are just fun to like maneuver in. That one, not only was the flying good, the running was good. What was the other? There was another mode.
There was like Batman / Spider-Man. Like it was gadget swinging. So like you swung from like grappling hooks, kind of like Spider-Man, or you had super speed. You could just run straight up the side of buildings and launch yourself off. Like all the locomotion in that game was insanely fun.
Yeah, that was good.
And Marvel has done such a good job, so much of a better job than DC of actually building a universe that all of these heroes live in. I think that would be much better. I would actually really love to see I'll be honest, I'd be way more excited to see a lot of the Marvel characters in a game than I would be a lot of DC characters, just because I have more of them that I genuinely like.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What if they gave you something that you didn't know that you would exactly like? You know, like what if they did because it's a character that's known, but not people are that married to, they could do something really, really interesting with it. And
that would be Ghost Rider for me. Ghost Rider make a sweet game.
Especially with the new one with the car and stuff.
Oh, god damn it.
Yep.
Oh, Ghost Driver.
Yeah,
Ghost Driver.
Anyway, let's keep going because we only got 10 more minutes here. Do you feel or think Insomniac will be working on a Spider-Man sequel or maybe another franchise associated with Sony? They're making another Spider-Man. Come on.
They're probably making
They've confirmed a sequel.
They confirmed it. After DLC, they said.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Yeah, they're doing another one, dude. Mebs, my man. So his first question is, after almost 5 years, has the DualShock 4's touchpad and speaker function been a failed gimmick? I just feel these two elements on the controller have been severely underutilized. Would you expect the DualShock 5 to exclude them? I'm deliberately not mentioning the light bar because of its use of PSVR, so I feel it's not been a total failure. But then again, you might disagree with me on that. It's funny, I was actually tweeting about this the other day about how I'm like, listen, with the DualShock 5, got to get rid of that touchpad, got to get rid of the lights, get rid of the fucking speakers. None of that shit, that shit was stupid. But what I found out during this, because I was under the assumption that the thing that was killing the battery life on the controller was the stupid light. Apparently, it's the touchpad. I'm like, how? Like, I don't know the mechanics of it, but apparently that thing always being on to register movement or whatever drains that battery. Somebody did tests on it because apparently the light is just a little LED or whatever. But
LEDs take very little to run.
So it's a touchpad. Get rid of that fucking touchpad. That thing is just a glorified select button. I got into an argument with a couple of the ponies out there. Oh, that thing's great for maps. I'm like, select button. Just
it doesn't have to be that big.
It doesn't have to be that big at all. Like no game outside
size does not matter in this case.
Get rid of that fucking touchpad. Get rid of that shit. You don't need it.
I like having it as the two buttons in the middle. Like I find myself using it a lot for like just slapping it for the map or something like that. Like, don't exclude it. Replace it with just two smaller buttons.
Yeah, you can do that.
I completely disagree.
Yeah,
of course you do.
No, since day one, I was saying that touch bar was just and the microphone was just useless, and people obviously didn't want to listen to me. And I said to everyone, give it 1 year, and there'll be no games that use this effectively. And apart from that, like the launch games, no other game has used this to great effect. It's all just been like, hey, it's there, it's a thing that we use sometimes. Sometimes we use it for like maps, and that's about it. It is in a bad position, and it's pretty much useless. I said from the get-go that the touch bar thing should have been at the back, like how the PS Vita is. You know how it has like the two things at the back where you put your fingers? It should have been there, because the main problem with the touch bar is where it's at. Like everyone that has a PS4 controller now, just go on and just hold it, right? In your hand, right? Naturally, your thumbs go to the thumb bars, right? That's it. And then to press the touchpad, you need to remove your thumbs from the thumbsticks to the touchpad. And what do your thumbsticks usually do? They control the movement. So hence, you have to stop your movement in order to touch the touchpad, which is stupid. Like, that's bad design. Like, whoever thought that was a smart idea to put it there, obviously didn't think of games in mind.
Why do you need a touchpad at all, though?
You don't. You get rid of that shit. You don't need a touchpad at all.
Like, it should be exactly at the back where the rumble sticks are.
But you don't need that, because my thing is like, that thing kills the battery. Get rid of that shit. No one uses it in games anyway.
I'm just saying that, like,
at least not that big.
Want to have it in there, like, the best place to put it is at the back, like the Steam controller does. It's like it has the flappy things right at the back.
Thank you. That's what I'd like to replace the touchpad with two flappy things in the back. That is my favorite thing about the Steam controller. Like, as soon as you pick it up, you hold it for a second, you're like, what are these little flappy? And you press each one once or twice, and you're like, oh my god, I didn't know I needed this in my life until right now.
The Xbox Elite controller has them.
Yo,
really?
Damn it!
It's becoming a new standard.
The Scuff controllers I'm about to review has them too. They're fucking amazing. The little like flippy things in the back, awesome shit, man. I love them.
Like little paddles.
Yeah, the little paddles, man. They're awesome.
Yep. They're pretty cool.
I was gonna say, like, I have a problem pressing R1 in games and shit, like action games. I don't have to do that. Just do it with this hand.
Yep.
Anyway, Brian, go ahead. And then because again, we gotta start wrapping up here. Anything else? DS5. What do you want to see in a DS5?
Better battery life.
Oh,
I'm
man.
Yeah,
sick and
and
tired
you
of
do that
PS4
by
because-
getting rid of that fucking touchpad. you
Death,
know?
taxes, and horrible DualShock battery life.
I like death.
No, the ability to remove the battery.
You should be
To
able to
replace the
switch
battery.
out batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Just let
hey,
me do that.
hey, whatever the Switch controller is doing, copy that 40 hours of battery life on that bitch. I forget to. I'm like, when the hell was the last time I charged this shit? You know?
When was the last time you
Right?
put that much time into it, though?
Yeah, when I was
That's the
playing
thing. You
Zelda,
put-
when I was playing
That was
Zelda
it.
and Mario, especially Mario, I was like, I think I put like 60, 80 hours in that game, and I think I charged that controller twice. You know?
Yeah, that Pro controller for the Switch is amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking legit, man. All right,
Because they don't got a touchpad pulling power from it.
yeah, all right,
Right?
see if we can answer these last two questions.
Oh, I ordered that 8-bito one.
All right, save it for the show, Adam.
Yeah. So yeah, just apologies that we kind of have to rush through these because YouTube is stupid. By the way, when the day comes that we're no longer streaming on here, then we won't have to worry about time restrictions. All right, this one's for me actually. Tony, you review and report on games as an occupation. You are now part of the gaming industry. You're doing something which very few of us get to do, which is doing something you love as a full-time occupation. I'm curious about something. For me, gaming is a hobby, a pastime, which I enjoy in my spare time. I enjoy my hours of gaming and then look forward to it again after a hard day's work. How does someone in your position keep things fresh so playing games doesn't become a chore? How do you keep your passion and joy from gaming, considering that it's your main job? There's a bunch of other stuff, but we got time.
Porn.
Here. It depends, man. Like if I'm playing a good game, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I was telling Manny about this the other day. The way I play games now is different, but it also hasn't changed. It's different in the sense of that I need to be more aware of what I'm doing because I need to jot it down later. But it hasn't changed in the fact that I still always gorge on fucking games. You know, like if it's a game I'm playing, I'm playing that shit for 10 hours all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? So that hasn't changed, but it is kind of interesting how, like, sometimes I'll be envious of people that could go back and play old games just because they can. I can't afford to do that anymore. I can only play whatever new shit is out there. Thankfully, there's a lot of good new shit out there for me to play. But yeah, so it's weird. It's different, but it's different, but still the same. And then the last question here. From my man Hussein. Manny, you can answer this one. What did you guys think of the Death Stranding trailer?
Which one?
The one that came out today.
Looked cool. I mean, granted, it did more in that 1 second of footage than that 30-minute monster that they showed at E3. No, 15-minute monster they showed at E3. So, I thought it was cool. We got to see some shit. Good stuff.
Yeah, I just saw like a minute clip. I saw like a lion with like a gold head. I'm like,
yeah, you got to see some crazy.
Kojima.
You got to see some crazy shit. Like, I mean, the biggest disappointment everybody had with that last one is that it's just a guy walking around in a big old empty environment. I mean, it looked cool, but what are we gonna do in this game? Obviously, this trailer, this little snippet of something showed you that maybe you might be fighting this thing. Cool.
Yeah. Did anybody else see it? Because I didn't see it. I was playing Fist of the North Star the whole weekend.
Listen, you can just turn on Kojima's Kojima Productions Twitter and you just run it for 1 second and then that's it. It's not really long. It's not even a trailer.
Is that clip I saw enough? Like that minute and a half?
That's it. That's all it is.
Really? I thought there was like a 15-minute trailer.
No. There was nothing.
That's cheap.
All it was just that. But to be honest, I find that more exciting than what was at E3. To be honest, because there was something happening. We're giving, the last trailer was just a bunch of story stuff that has no real meaning. It was like, oh, you're the last one, blah blah blah, random text. It's like, why?
Crazy.
The main thing we have to remember about video games is you are actually, when you're playing a video game, yes, you are partially watching, but for the most part, you're kind of selling people on the actual act of playing a game.
Yeah, I want to see actual gameplay already. Like, I'm getting tired of this already. Give me the gameplay. All right, man, let's wrap this motherfucker up. So thank you for watching and listening. Leave us your questions in the comment section of this episode here on YouTube or over on the Coalition, and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, which I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace. Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, people.
And Brian Monjoma.
Good night, people.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday, man. Peace out.
Later, guys.